Hello and welcome back to the Drama Coach podcast. Today I'm joined by Liyanne Marie, a professional casting director working across commercials, film, TV, vertical dramas, media content and live projects. Liyanne has cast a wide range of screen projects, including work in vertical drama, a fast-growing short-form format designed for mobile viewing. And I'm really excited for this conversation because casting can feel like one of the most mysterious parts of the industry from the outside. For young performers, older teens, parents and emerging actors, there are so many questions around auditions. What does a casting director actually notice? What makes someone stand out for the right reasons? How much does the perfect self-tape setup matter? And how do actors stay confident and grounded when they're putting themselves forward for this work? So today we'll be talking about casting, auditions, vertical drama, preparation, professionalism, new opportunities in the industry, and how performers can build trust without trying to second guess everything. So let's get right into it and welcome Liyanne. Hello.
Hey, Lisa. Well, thanks for that lovely intro there.
Well, you're very welcome. I said to my guest last week, actually, it's one of my favourite things to do a little dive and see what I know of this person and what they've done. And it's, I think, really exciting. Everyone should do that for themselves.
Do you know what? I think it's important for you to, sometimes when I listen, I'll go, that's talking about me, actually. I am doing all this. It's like, how am I fitting all this in right now? But yeah, it's good to reflect, isn't it? And put a little pat on your back at times.
Absolutely. And it's clearly very well deserved. So other than what I've just listed off in the intro there, would you like to tell the listeners a little bit about yourself and how you first came into casting and the kind of projects that you cast?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I am casting director I call myself still the new generation casting directors. And I say that because I have been in casting for about 8 years now, which sounds quite a long time. But when you are, inspired by some of the most incredible casting directors that I know that have been in the industry like 20, 30 years, 15 years, then I'm definitely the kind of the new generation. And, I kind of fell into casting a little bit by accident, if I'm honest. It wasn't a career that I was kind of set to do. I had been a dancer in the industry. I'd, been on the other side of the table as such, or that casting table, not really always having an understanding of who those hierarchy people that were on the table, like deciding and my fate and my decision of an audition kind of were all the time. Didn't understand all the roles and responsibilities. And a couple of years after I had kids and stuff like that, I was a mum. I'd been made redundant from a job that I was doing, which I was really unhappy in, and I thought I would be great at setting up a talent agency. I'm going to turn that off. Because I'd always had an eye for talent, or I'd always had a good network, or I'd always be like, I know somebody that's really good that can do that. So I didn't even really think of that as a job. It was just my kindness of just putting people and connecting people. And I had some friends that had talent agencies, and I just met with a few of them and said, let me know, what do I need? What do I need to be a talent agent? And a friend of mine was really honest, and she said, I don't think you should be a talent agent. And I kind of was a bit like, oh, that's a bit rude. It wasn't done in a rude way. She was like, I really think you would be a great casting director. Liyanne, so much skills of a casting director. And she actually kindly put me in touch with a casting director who I reached out to and said, could I just shadow and work for free? Like, I just needed to understand the role of casting and what it was. And I became an assistant, and then I became an assistant for other casting directors. And I just found my niche. I found like what I love. I found my purpose. I love meeting new people. Love giving people opportunities and talent and watching things. So I began my journey kind of as a casting assistant, went up to like casting associate, and then went, I want to do this my way. So I'm going to start my own business of doing this. And yes, it's going to be an uphill battle, but here I am 8 years on. And Liyanne Marie casting is building and growing and building a small team and stuff like that. So yeah, and here I am.
That's really exciting. This idea of finding your path, finding what flows for you, and you thought it was something, but actually it was something a little bit different off from that.
Yeah. I mean, I say this to people all the time. So unfortunately, I did have an illness that put me in a wheelchair for a while. So it meant that my career had to change. Like I had no choice. And I suppose for any of like listeners or, anyone watching it, it's always, good to keep open-minded. We can have our dreams, we can have our goals, we can have our ambition, and that's beautiful. And we can try and work towards that. But sometimes in life as well, things are thrown at us that are out of our control. And anyone that wants to get into this industry, I would say you really have to know how to pivot because, and where you can transfer skills in other ways as well, because the industry, it evolves. And I know we're going to talk about some things that I'm part of in evolving, but the industry moves, quickly in different ways. There's always budget cuts or there's strikes. And so it's really important to be quite open-minded and train your craft in different things so that your skills can be transferable.
Definitely. I think creative skills are transferable, aren't they?
Oh,
There's a huge fear. We know how oversaturated the industry is.
yeah.
But for the child that says to the parent, I want to act, I really, really want to do this, I love it, I love performing. I mean, we're not going to stop them, are we? Not at this
Absolutely
stage anyway.
not.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. Cherish
But it's,
that,
yeah,
nurture that, that takes a lot of confidence as well. So yeah, any opportunity to kind of, put them in some safe spaces of, where they can really be confident and enjoy that, then absolutely, do it. But be aware that it is still quite a tough industry. All of us that are in it, it's never an easy ride. Absolutely
no,
not. So be prepared for the
absolutely not.
bumps and that along the way. Yeah.
Well, that's important, and it's good to hear, and it's good that guests are being honest on here. I've had actors say, "Yeah, if you can encourage them into anything else, please do." But yes, they're not in a position. Hopefully, most of the younger ones, they're not trying to pay the mortgage, so
Yeah.
they can do this. So why not do it now? And if it goes
Absolutely.
somewhere, fantastic. But if it doesn't, just like you said, be ready to transfer those skills
Yes.
to other areas, hopefully still creative and not crushing your
Yes.
soul. Where can you make this
Yeah,
industry work for you?
absolutely. Yeah. And of
Brilliant.
course for parents, like it's a huge dedication and commitment as well. So if you have, your star child or a child that's so confident and wants to be a part of, you know, film, TV, commercial, stage, whatever it might be, that takes a real dedication and commitment for a parent. And also, there's so much to learn in the industry. So it can feel a bit daunting at times, even as a parent, self tapes, auditions, like, some people get the knack of it straight away. But some people, it's a challenge. It can be quite difficult as well, You
Absolutely. Hence the
learn.
podcast,
Yeah,
hopefully.
support
Hopefully
you,
will help make
whatever
things
support you
easier.
need as well, yeah.
Yeah.
Get it.
So can we dive into casting a little bit more? I mean, what does it actually involve? From the outside, it can feel quite mysterious. What does the process look like in general, sort of from when perhaps a
Yeah.
brief comes to you?
I mean, casting is one of those things, isn't it, where people actually don't have much of a clue in some scenarios what it is, but also some people think, oh, it's just casting. I can do it so easily. And I'm like, I feel like a lot of casting directors are very undervalued. And I've said this before, and it's great that we now have recognition at the Oscars and BAFTAs, and it's taken a long time. So thank you to all of those casting directors before me that have like really paved that way. But casting is there's a real skill to it. And it's, people can see that glamour side. I think like anything in our industry, you see the glamour side, you see the finished product. There's a casting director that's found all these lovely kids for this commercial, found, these cast these actors for this lovely, film or TV program. But what goes on behind is like a lot of work. It's hours of work. It can be sleepless nights. It's not a 9 to 5 job, which some people, if they've ever got emails from me, sometimes they know that like Liyanne's messaging at 10 p.m. But that's because my day might be so busy and I'm across so many different jobs. But casting is really about also capturing other people's vision, which a lot of people forget that, It's not just, yeah, we're gonna cast some kids for this commercial. We have to really capture what the vision is of a director or a creative or the live show or whatever it may be. And we've got to go into that vision. So we can't actually put our own vision in it because it's another creative. So you've really got to be a little bit open-minded as well. Like, we can influence and we can hold a lot of responsibility on who we invite in the room, who we invite to tape, matching up with, scripts, characters, treatments, which, if anyone doesn't know what a treatment is, it's kind of like the vision of like a mood board type thing of what we can see visually to kind of deliver the casting options. And we then go to work, like literally we are sourcing talent from everywhere, and we go and watch live shows. I watch, film and TV. I will use Spotlight. I will be street casting, I will go to like drama schools, theatre. So we are literally everywhere, spying on everyone, looking for those next stars. And it's an ongoing process, I think, with it varies from different productions, of course, but usually I work quite close with the director or the creative, production team, and we have to deliver options and there's shortlist. And I'm sure people are familiar with hearing a pencil or a heavy pencil. And, and these things are just processes that we have to go through in order to get the right talent for the right roles. So it's a very, very heavy admin job as well. People don't always understand that. Where we are such in a social media world at the moment, which in one way is such a beautiful thing and it's accessible, I have to make it clear it's also very worrying for people that are very vulnerable and maybe really keen to get into this industry, and a great casting call pops up on their Instagram or their TikTok or their Facebook, and eager parents go, yes, that's my child. And you've just got to do your research. You've got to really go behind the scenes of that. A casting call can be made by absolutely anybody. And, you can be left quite vulnerable if you haven't done a bit of research. And by all means, you want to get some opportunities and you want to put your child or yourself forward. But, who is the production company? Who is the casting director? Like, do a little bit of background. Is the casting director registered with any of the associations and the bodies that we have here in the UK or LA or wherever anyone's listening from? Because there are, standards and regulations that we kind of work within. So I'm very passionate about kind of really sharing that, because I feel in the world that we're in right now, I see it constantly, casting calls popping up here, there, everywhere, random. And some of them are definitely, legit and they're great opportunities. But also just be mindful of what you're doing. And if you don't have an agent, then just do a bit of research. If you do have an agent, get your agent to just check out the casting call or the production company or who's posted it, basically.
I'm so glad you brought this up, because at the time of recording, just
Yeah.
last week, I had somebody contact me about a dodgy casting, which led me to create a podcast episode on safety and flag various things up with various people. And then I was chatting to my agent about it and she sent me an article. It happens. I don't want to scare people, but absolutely that's everything that I say is go and do that due diligence, check them out. There's even been people recently pretending to be existing casting directors, to the point of even an AI voice note, I believe, that sounded like the casting director. So that is frightening. Yes.
Yeah.
Never let your child go off anywhere alone.
No.
And another thing that I chatted to with an agent is those questions aren't going to cost you or your child the job. Anyone who's decent, who's a real casting director with a real project, if you're asking questions about safeguarding or licenses or chaperoning or even as a young adult, can I bring someone with me to this casting? I mean, how would you feel? I don't know. You've got someone 20 something and they're saying, thank you, Liyanne, I'd really love to, but can I bring, I don't know what they call it, an appropriate adult? Can I bring someone? How do you feel about that?
I mean, I think you must always ask the questions, because at the end of the day, the casting director is the middle person at the moment between talent and production. Once we hand you to production, that's a whole nother kind of little journey for you. And you have to be looked after all the way up until that stage. I work quite closely with the production in the sense of if anybody comes and they're uncomfortable with anything, they want to ask other questions, it's for me to ask those questions on behalf of the talent so that production can have an understanding of this is what we need to provide for this person. I mean, some standard things like chaperones, child licensing. These are standard things that us as casting directors will know. Whereas when you go on other jobs or somebody's just posted a casting call, they might not know those things.
They don't.
And it's then worrying because you then take your child to a shoot. There's been no child licensing. You know, it could be safeguarding issues. Is there been a risk assessment done? There's so many things that we have to go back and forth with production. Of course, we are also under the restraints of productions who sometimes want things so fast. They want things quick. You know, so if then there's ongoing questions back and forth, and then they like, you know, we need to get these decisions made, and then they could be like, you know, well, we may have to release, and you know, there's a lot of negotiation and managing for a casting director as well. But the main thing for us is that the actors are safe. There's good standard regulation. There's all the good practices that are put in place. And if you have that relationship with a casting director and your agent, if something happens on a production, you can go back to either a casting director or your agent and say, I wasn't really comfortable with this, or this happened. Because I always say this, because once casting directors have done their bit and you go onto a production, if I don't know what's happened, then how am I going to know? And it may make me decide that I don't want to work with that production company again. So it's never a problem to have your voice, or to say something doesn't feel right, or something's, you know, inappropriate or gone wrong. You don't get the opportunity all the time to be on set. I do tend to go on set a little bit. Like I have had that luxury, and a lot of clients I work with, they will invite me to set and I will always try and pop down, but you don't actually have a casting director that's on set. So you have to just make sure you also then understand who should be on a production. You know, who do you go to? You know, do they have a welfare producer? Do they have health and safety? So all these kind of things is navigating and understanding. But definitely ask questions if you're feeling unsure. A good example of this recently is, and I know we'll probably move on to it, but the vertical drama space is really evolving.
That's my next point. Let's talk about it now. Yeah.
Well, and it will work quite well going into this, Lisa, because the vertical dramas are evolving, but also there's not as many young people that are in these vertical dramas as such yet. The stories are not written, you know, as much for young performers, but that is slowly changing, and there has been a few, and I have cast a few that have young children roles in them. And most recently, I cast a young person for a role, and the agent contacted me, and the young person was, you know, confirmed, child licensing was on its way, all of this, chaperone was in place, which would have been the parent, and the agent messaged me and mum had now done her research on vertical dramas and was really concerned because a majority of the vertical dramas and their themes and their topics, she felt, actually, I'm really excited. My daughter's been booked on a job, but now I've done a bit of research, I actually need to understand what these vertical dramas are. And this particular vertical drama was a lovely genre. It didn't have none of those kind of, you know, themes that are kind of well known in vertical drama. Still kind of elements of romance and princess themes and stuff, but it was very more light-hearted. So I loved that the parent asked that. And I went back to the agent and I said, do you know what? This is really lovely to see that parent has asked this. And this is all the full detail, like even more detail than what I always give on a brief, so that the parent really understood the script, what it was, how this is going to be delivered and produced in a different format to some of the others. But I felt that was a parent that went, you know what, I've accepted a job for my daughter, and this is exciting, great news. And it was like quite a big role. But actually now I've watched some vertical dramas, or I've read up about them, and there is some negative talk about them. I don't know if I want my daughter a part of this. So all we can do is give all the open and transparency information. And then the decision was made. The decision on that one was that mum chose daughter not to accept the role, which is absolutely fine. We went with our backup option. And it may take now for mum to now see that that final edit be produced and the young person play to now feel more comfortable. But I'm just glad that a parent made that decision and said, what about now? I don't feel I know enough about this space. So I'm going to say no to that role. And then when my daughter is ready, it's, so I think it's a good point to raise, especially because there's a lot of these vertical dramas that are popping up, a lot of casting calls coming out.
Yes.
And hence why I say what I said in the beginning about just checking on the casting calls and where it's coming from, who the production is, because these are very fast-paced productions. So they move quickly. So they cast quite quickly. And you may then, as a parent, just overlook something because of the opportunity, but start to know that it's evolving quite rapidly here. And I think we will start seeing some content that we're all going to love and want to be a part of.
That's exciting because, I too have been unsure, and I attended one of your spotlight sessions about it, actually, that made me more interested and contact you. But I also hope that anybody listening has sort of noted your tone on that parent that did. I wasn't sure where that story was going to go, whether you were going to say did or didn't. I actually thought you were going to say did take the job because of your positivity. You haven't sat there and gone, well, that's it now, I'm never going to cast her again. You've gone, good for the parent, good for the child. I know that child, I have a good relationship with them. That's their decision. And you've let them go, well, we've got the backup option. I actually think that your attitude is fantastic. And I hope that, because there can be fear from parents and young performers, if I don't please and just do what I'm supposed to do, I'll be blacklisted or whatever. But I think it sounds like you were all just being true to the research and all just trying to do your best and build these good relationships, which sounds really positive to me.
And that's why, Lisa, that's why I really harp on that I'm that new generation, because I know I do things probably slightly different. And that's why I am quite, just really about empowering others and just making sure you do have your voice, because back when I was younger growing up, I would have had that fear as well. I would have been like, if I, speak up, that, casting director's probably never going to think of me again, but we should be very approachable and we should be very real. And I feel that I am like that. So that's why I try to do my best. I mean, I can't please everybody in the sense of like production still needs to go on. So I've got to now, as much as she is client's favorite choice, we have other options, hence why we have the pencils, which I know are a nightmare. But this is why then we have a pencil, because something so last minute could change. And then now the young girl that got the job has just had the best experience. And, it was one of her first jobs, and her agent and her parent absolutely over the moon and couldn't thank me enough, because so it just shows you, doesn't it, what feels comfortable for you, of course, and just ask the questions so that you can feel comfortable.
Brilliant. I really like that. Thank you. Let's talk more about verticals then. We've tapped into the style and the storylines. I mean, I want to know about how different it is in terms of filming. We see it as more heightened, perhaps, maybe more emotionally direct. Tell us about the style and genre.
Yeah, I mean, I've been casting vertical dramas now in the UK, I think maybe 2.5 years. It may be 3 years in Jan. If I'm honest, when I first cast the first one, I actually didn't really know what they were, because as a casting director, it's a casting job. Somebody comes to me, they need cast, they've got sent me a script, I've read the script. It was a challenging script, challenging roles, but I love a challenge, and said, yeah, I'm going to cast this. And I then had started casting, and that particular vertical drama, it went global. It was like a global success. It was a massive hit. It got so much attention. And I was like, let me do a little bit more research into this, because, what really is a vertical drama or a micro drama? I mean, you hear short form drama. There's a few different ways of saying them. And then I began to understand, and they obviously did evolve from China. They've been in China about just over 5 years. They are content and stories that are made for your mobile phone device. They are heightened. They are over the top. They are exaggerated. They are kind of themes of romance and, lots of different topics, but not genres that are all covered yet. Initially, in the beginning, I had turned a couple of scripts away because they were a little bit inappropriate. And I think, like anything, you have to read through anything and see if you want to be a part of it. Were scenes of intimacy and stuff with lead roles and things like that, which is totally fine if it's produced and directed in a decent way. We had implemented and made sure intimacy coordinators or fight coordinators, were. So we've been evolving the space to bring it to a better standard to encourage more actors to get involved. And I did struggle in the beginning because no actor wanted to get involved. And it was like searching for like a needle in a haystack, because there would be the odd actor that knew what these were and had done a couple in China or something. And I was like, oh. So then I found a small pool of actors. But they're evolving. They're in demand. And I think the one thing to say to all the listeners is, we are also changing the way we are absorbing and watching content, and it doesn't take anything away from film and TV. It really doesn't. It doesn't take anything away from our fabulous theatre and stage productions. But the microdrama or vertical dramas are their own. They're their own beast. Yeah. Do not compare them to anything else. And that's what I would say to anybody, any actors or, parents with young people who've maybe been sent a brief for their child. They are its own content for mobile phones. And there is a huge demand for them. There is a huge audience demand and fan base for them. So please know this. If you get to be cast in one, you have the potential of an audience, falling in love with your character. Similar to our soap world, if I'm honest. We all love our soaps. It's kind of like soaps on mobile phones. And the characters are, very, very sometimes over the top, delivered at quite a fast pace. They're like 1 to 3 minute episodes that are kind of, on an app. And you can watch, it depends on the apps, but you can watch like the first 15 to 20 episodes for free. And then by then you're probably really engaged and want to know what's going to happen. But the overall kind of script and stories are like a feature film. And so we always say this to actors, there is a lot of script work. Don't feel like these are, I think initially they were, thought like these are for people that have never acted before and first jobs. And yes, there is that opportunity, but also the demand of what we are asking and a production is asking for you as an actor is quite a lot of work. And I always say, actually, you need quite a lot of skill to become a vertical drama actor. So give it its credit. You're doing something fast paced. You're, shooting a feature as such, but over probably 7 to 10 days. The script could be 13. I mean, the one we've done the most on, I think, was 33 pages of script a day. Like that is a massive tool to add in your toolbox as an actor, right? To say, I can retain that amount of script. So I think if we all start looking at things a little bit more positive and being more like, what can we do to bring the space? And that's why I kind of stayed in the space, because I think I saw something. And yes, I didn't agree sometimes with all of the scripts or maybe some of the content, but I was like, but then it gets put on an app and it's in demand. And these actors now are booking regular work. A lot of the actors that I've cast are popping up in lots of other vertical dramas and becoming little vertical drama stars. So, I feel that if it evolves and we can elevate it, bring better quality, better scripts, better stories and content, then it's an exciting time for us, because it's going to provide more work for young people, more work for actors, more work for cast and crew, and myself as a casting director. So, I think there's a evolution happening. Do I say that?
Oh, yeah.
And I have been at the forefront of it. I suppose I was when everyone was like, no, absolutely not, or pretending that they didn't cast them or they didn't want to be involved in them. I just went, well, I'm owning this. I'm going to pave the way and make sure it becomes a better space to want to work in and, evolve it even more.
Thank you. On behalf of those actors and those parents, if it's going to be there, we want it to be safe and accessible and the best that it can be. And
Yeah.
you're making me feel excited just hearing that. What did we say at the beginning of the episode? It's an oversaturated market. You probably don't want to go into it. So why not have another, I think you called it a beast of its own.
It is a
Why
beast
not?
of its own.
Why
Yeah.
not have
Yeah.
another format to, give everybody
And do you know
jobs
what,
and work and
Lisa? In all
creativity?
honesty, since I've been casting, I have never received so many emails. And this is the honest truth. I've never received so many emails from actors or agents following a filming of a vertical that come back with positive feedback. Like, it doesn't really happen. Like, I feel like sometimes casting directors as well, they're just like, not forgotten about, but it's like
The
you
job
book the
done,
job,
and yeah.
book the job, forget the casting director. And even when the credits come out, let's be real, casting directors are sometimes never credited. I've seen it in actors. I'm like, you've mentioned everyone in the production, but you've forgotten the casting director. Like I will listen to interviews and stuff. I'll be like, yeah, but the casting director got you in the room. The casting director, got you. So they just I think just appreciate the casting director sometimes, because we work so hard. But yeah, I feel like I've received so many emails, and most people that have done their first vertical, they've emailed me and said, Liyanne, please consider me for any other vertical dramas that come up.
That's great praise.
And it's like, because they go and they have fun on shoot as well, and these are the things, because they're still quite lower budget. So please don't go and, they're getting better. The quality and the budgets and the last one we've just filmed was, the locations were stunning, massive castle. Like, I'm excited for the final edit on that. But, you just have to be really open-minded and just be like, this is something new. And it's not going to be like when I go on a whole big Hollywood film set, and they might not have absolutely everything, but we're working towards it. And I think production, even a production company I work with here, they are trying to do their best to evolve. And some of the other production companies that I'm working with in the vertical drama space, we're all trying to evolve it like the best way we can. Yeah, it's exciting, I think.
It's exciting. And I love hearing this, that going to champion it. It was something new to the UK. So let's make it the
And it's
best that
doing,
it can
let's be honest, it's doing so
Yeah.
well in the US and so many other parts of the world. Like, let's, the UK, let's not do our, sometimes we have that attitude a little bit here, don't we? That not snobbery, but we're a little bit like, and I'm like, but if we're not latching on to something here, guys, that is changing the way actors are working and changing the way people are watching things, mini Hallmark on a mobile phone. And
I described it to somebody the other day.
Got our guilty pleasures of a little Hallmark
100%.
series.
Especially at Christmas for me.
Yeah, falling in love with them characters. So
Yeah.
I just think it's that. Don't compare it to a TV drama that's on ITV, BBC, or a Netflix film. Like, it really isn't that. And as much as I would love to be booking all the Netflix jobs, as much as I'm sure the actors were. And I would, and I've had the privilege of working with some amazing broadcasters and some well-known big names. But also I'm like, yeah, let's respect what this is, and if you can book, I booked an actor on 2 shoots ago, and this was his 44th vertical.
Oh,
44th vertical.
incredible.
Yeah, and I'm like, so it shows you.
Great.
But he's from the States.
He enjoys it. Yeah.
He's from the States. He's from US, and they have a very different attitude to us. And I think if we can pick up on that, then it's quite exciting for us here. Yeah. Yeah.
So if people are listening to this then and thinking, yes, I'm excited by it, as long as I do my research and I feel that I'm with a safe casting director, production, etc., I would like to audition for these kind of jobs.
Yeah.
Let's talk about those auditions, those self-tapes, presumably, at least for first round.
Yeah.
They're a huge part of the industry now. What makes a strong self-tape for you? What would make somebody stand out if you were casting them?
Yeah, self-tape, casting directors as well will always, it's so difficult for actors, because I feel like we'll all give you advice and it all sometimes might be really conflicting. Like, oh no, that's not what that other casting director. And this is where
opinion-based, isn't it?
Yeah, it's opinion-based, and our industry is opinion-based. But self-tapes for me are, especially in vertical dramas, they are the first, that we don't have the luxury right now to be in the casting studio, and with budgets, they will never probably do that as the first round. Not like it used to be in the day where, first round was in the casting studio, which we all love. I prefer being in the studio, but we're not there yet. And but self-tape for me, it has to be the presence on screen is everything. The confidence for me is everything. And if it's for a vertical drama, especially, there's no time for warm up. Like, I need to see instant presence and energy within that 30 seconds to a minute. And I can even tell it from your intro. And I do always ask, especially for the young people as well, I always ask you to tell me something interesting about yourself or something fun, because I like to see people come alive. And I feel like when we talk about ourselves, that's something that we like ourselves to do.
Yeah.
You get passionate. So you smile, your eyes speak and you smile more. People overthink that little intro and think is that we're needing to say something that they want to hear. And it's not, I'm like, actually, I'm listening to your great hobby or your fun or whatever you're telling me, but I'm actually looking at how your personality is coming across first. So always think about that for your intro. Lighten the mood, just say something fun. Don't make it long-winded. Don't start telling me about your whole day or the bus that you missed or the car broke down. There's no time. But give me a real quick, personality shine. And then I really will look at somebody that's researched the character a little bit or already embodied the character in their head. Because I do feel like a lot of actors, and especially for some young people, this is probably really good advice in that I don't just want to see you read the lines. I want to see you be that character. And if it means you have to make up a little bit of the lines in between, so sometimes we call that ad lib, or you want to, add a little freestyle of, I would prefer you to read over the scene that we're sending you and set that scene in your head. Where are you? Like, if we haven't told you where you are, set the scene. Bring me into the scene. And I feel a lot of people nowadays are not doing that. We're just trying to get through the self-tape and we're just trying to read the lines and we're trying to read the lines perfect. I don't actually want to see lines perfect. I want to see your character, who you can bring to the character. And that even can be if you're casting for a commercial and we've asked you to do, I don't know, kids, unwrapping Christmas presents at Christmas because you're going to do a commercial for a wonderful brand. And genuinely put yourself there. Like, how actually do you feel at Christmas time as a child when you got and you think, is this the presents that I actually really want, rather than, acting in a way that maybe you wouldn't naturally act in. Self-tapes as well, for verticals, they need to be quite over the top. I would always say go 100, go out 10, and we can then tone it down if we need, because we're like, whoa, that was a really dramatic performance. But actually, that's what we want to see. I also do say, I'd still say film it horizontally or vertically.
I was going to ask you that. Thank you.
I mean, a lot of
people
would give you very different views on this, but with the clients that I work, and it will work different for everyone. Clients that I've worked, sometimes the vertical is worked better because there's something about when we film vertically and horizontally. If you watch a tape back horizontally and you watch it vertically, what we get on screen is quite different. And if we're looking at emotional range, present on screen, your energy, I need to see you quite close up, literally how we are here, Lisa. I need to see you quite close. So, and I think vertically we get a bit lost. We start, really using the space and stepping back. And that then we lose the engagement that we need, because vertical drama characters as well, they've got to have something instant to pull in an audience. We think about TikTok now, if something doesn't attract our attention in that first 30 seconds, we swipe, we're gone.
Yeah.
So I want actors to think about that when they're taping for a vertical. Let's not build up the character, and unless that's what's required, but who are you on screen? Get into that character really quick. Show us that dramatic, heightened performance, even if it feels really silly, it probably is, that's what we need. And also I always say have good lighting, good sound. Don't get too fancy unless you have a fancy setup that you are willing to use, but you don't need that. As plain a background as possible, but not everybody has the space or the facilities to do that. So, that's okay, but just maybe make the space in the back quite tidy. Let's put the washing hanging away.
Yes, reduce those distractions. Yeah.
Because believe it or not, when we are watching, I just want to watch you. So if I'm distracted by beautiful plant in the background and the washing's going it can be a distraction, but it's not a complete put off, because circumstances, and it could be, you say, I'm so sorry, this is the only space I could film my tape right now. I've had actors that tape and they're on set somewhere else, so they're having to find little corner or And it's
Yeah.
okay. Just explain to us. And just make sure and don't over edit stuff, I would say, because we like to see what you can do and how you can come back. Like if you make a mistake for me, I much prefer to see a little bit of that than, and some agents will disagree. They'll be like, no, we're going to re-edit that because send it perfect. But you see, and every casting director will be different. But I sometimes like seeing the little bleeper moments that go wrong. And then how did you deal with that? Like, did you really fumble or did you just carry on? And I'm
Especially
like,
if they stayed in character.
yeah,
I
they've
think
missed the
I
line.
say,
I
and
love that.
what did I say? I say to some students, oh, there's no such thing as something bad or wrong. I'm like, oh, if that table falls over in your performance, as long as you're still in character, it's actually a gift
Yeah.
because the way that you respond. So that's
Yeah.
interesting that sometimes these unperfect moments could give you that standout.
It does. I think
element.
because things go wrong on production, things can go wrong on set. If I've then had that insight into how you would manage that a little bit or how you come back from that, that's great. I can say, yeah, but Zoe, look, they really messed up on lines here, but look how they kept in character and look how they just pulled it back, or just go, oh gosh, hold on a minute. I really need to redo that line again because, it's just the way I want to see the real person sometimes as well. And then what you bring to the
I
character.
think you've said to us about how tough it is, how many more pages, how quickly you're working. Presumably production doesn't have time for you to sort of blank or need coaxing back into it. So if you can see that they sort these things out quickly, I'm guessing that that's a bonus, that that person can deal with that rather than they did 50 takes, edited it, made it all perfect, because they just don't have that time on.
Well, on
this
vertical
style.
dramas, definitely not. There's no
No.
retakes. Absolutely not. You'd be lucky, maybe, if you get a couple. Not many.
It's still sounding really exciting to me. And I had a chat with my agent this week, and we were talking about maybe dulling myself down a bit because I can get very excitable. Because she's like, I think people just don't believe you're that excitable. I was like, oh, now you've got
We
me
need
thinking.
to find you that right role, Lisa, for
I think I
vertical
need
drama.
to find
That's
my
what
way
we
in
need.
verticals. And you're convincing me now, because I was one of those when I first saw them go, I'm not sure about these storylines. I don't really like it. But my husband stumbled across something a while back. I think it was for a museum. I think it might have been Anne Frank or something. And he can't find it since. And he said, this was beautiful. And it was short form. And it was interesting and dramatic. And there is a space for that. It doesn't all have to be melodrama necessarily. I think it's really building.
And I think it's like anything, they're only creating as well what is being demanded.
Yes, of course.
And I think that's where sometimes in our creative industry, we are also creative and it's beautiful. We want to create and stuff. And now I'm trying to say, look, but let's create in this space, but also there's a formula that's working. Like there's a demand for this. So it is about just being, and that's why I say it's its own beast. There are things that are like, we don't really want to always see these kind of storylines being told and stuff like that. But sadly, even on social media, the best posts and the things that get the most likes are not always the most positive things, which is so frustrating. But, I know myself, if I post something really positive or something, it's probably not going to get as much likes as if I post a little rant about something. It's how society is moving as well. So it's kind of like, it's difficult, but while the demand is there, they are still going to create some stories and scripts that not all of us are going to want to watch and be a part of. But let's be a part of the ones that we do like, or the scripts that are being really well written, and us doing stories that are, taking us away from our day-to-day life of stress and anxieties and
That's
stuff.
That's why we watch the soaps,
and this
right?
is why, and this is what a lot of the audience say, that they watch these as escapism. They don't want to switch these on and watch something that they could probably sit and watch on TV. That's, it's not that. They want something that just hits really quick, like what's dramatic, what's happening, and then can switch off again. So I think it's just understanding that, and rather than being too like, oh, we want to create, certain of our narrative stories and genres that we all think we all love, we could put it in this space and it might not work. There's so much genres that are still yet to be explored. That's why it's so exciting. And yet it could, and that is the exciting part. Where's the genres that we haven't explored yet? And pushing the diversity of our cast and stuff like that, and inclusion. It's where I'm at the moment in trying to evolve these but they've then got to do well. They've then got to have the numbers, and they've got to have the views and the watches and the stuff like this. We're up against that demand as well.
Yeah, there's so many pieces there to piece together and think about.
Yes.
I've got a couple of other questions for you, sort of
Yeah.
alongside this, and they're things
Yeah.
that come to me sometimes and people ask me. So we've mentioned a couple of times in this conversation about agents.
Yes.
So this is kind of a section about sort of agents, files, and being ready. Do you think actors need an agent to be seen for the kind of work that you cast?
Not all the time, but what an agent does is will alleviate any kind of, you have to, if you're going to be an actor that doesn't have an agent representing you, then you have to be very proactive and active. So that's a lot of groundwork and a lot of research and a lot of work following casting directors that you want to be seen, or registering on casting platforms and stuff, so that, because your agents are going to be on there. I think, having an agent is good in the sense of that they can always support you with things that you're unsure about. And if you're quite new in the industry and you don't know certain things about standards, rates of pay, overtime, travel, wardrobe, providing your own wardrobe, all of some of these things that somebody maybe on a production or something is not going to explain to you, then it's good then to have an agent. But at the same time, we're in a world, I think, where everybody is their own marketing walking brand. And we have platforms now that are being used as casting platforms.
This episode is supported by Scene Tribe, a new industry network for creatives built around your credits, your collaborations, and the work that you've actually done. If you're ready to be found by the right people, head to scenetribe.com. Right, back to the episode.
I will say I do look on Instagram, I do look on TikTok, I do look on other platforms, to look not just on our casting platforms anymore, because people are creating amazing content as well, which is then becoming very attractive for brands or vertical dramas even, because if they have somebody that's an actor that's got this now huge following on social media, they are probably quite enticed with that. But having said that, I don't want people to feel pressured with that, because you have to be comfortable. And if that's something that you can do comfortably and you're happy with, and you're, great at creating content, or you have, a young person that you manage their account. I mean, I always would advise that parents manage children's accounts, and be mindful of what the content is that you're putting on there, and what is it that you're trying to say about yourself. I do feel sometimes that people get, it even happened for myself. I had to separate. Oh my God, right? Okay, this. Do I actually want to post that I'm going to a restaurant to eat a plate of food today? Does that align with me as a casting director?
Tricky,
so
isn't it?
There's so many things that are tricky, and there's no right or wrong way at all. I just think it's about just being sensible with your, if you are that parent that wants to, have your child have their own Instagram account or, TikTok account and stuff like that, then just be really sensible with the content you're putting on there, what you're trying to show. Like if brands reach out or a casting director reaches out, what is it saying on that page? But then also with an agent, that's a very particular thing. Some people will go to an agent and it doesn't work. They don't align with the right agent. So then don't rush decisions on agents. Do your research about an agency. Why would they be good for you? And why would you be good for them? Remember, it's a two-way relationship. An
Absolutely.
agent is not that just there to fish you the jobs. You've got to do the groundwork. You've got to be ready. You've got to be prepared. So what can you offer the agent as well? So I think it's about people understanding that a little bit. Just do that research a little bit. If there's an agent that you think, oh, I think this agent would be a great agency, find out. But how many people do they have on their books? What kind of work are they sending out? Do they give regular feedback on, how much jobs they've sent for you? And, or you just left there as a number, just to maybe be selected. And same with profiles, like profiles are very particular, and on Spotlight especially, that is probably what us casting directors look at first. And of course, your headshot is so important, because I can only sometimes go from a headshot, a little thumbnail that's on my screen, to select you for a self-tape. So your headshot needs to say quite a bit about you. And if you're unsure on what that should be, then speak to an agent, or, get a few different headshots so that we can see you in like a different kind of, different way as well for different roles.
Brilliant. I just want to backtrack very slightly to the parent managed accounts, because
Yes.
you and I have said, oh, it's tricky to know what to put on there. If
Yes.
the parent hasn't figured this out already from themselves and from listening to podcasts, I'm sure they have, but I just want to pop it out there. Don't post some sort of regular class or where your child is at that time, just to be safe, because again, not everybody is who they say they are
Absolutely.
online. Yes. And I think, Brian brought that up in our chat
Very valid point.
recently. So yeah, so it's something that, because they will be, won't they? They're probably all attending regular classes, or they've got a run of that show at that
Yes.
theatre. Just be careful. I've got a friend who always posts. I think we look at it and we go, hey, what? You did that ages ago. And he's sort of doing it as if it's now. It makes sense,
Yes.
because you've still got all of that content, but somebody can't just rock up and find you there at that time. So
Absolutely.
yeah, just be careful with that. I know Liyanne knows this. I know probably all
Very
the listeners
valid.
know this, but it popped into my head, so I felt like I had to
Yeah,
say. Thanks.
absolutely, Lisa. Well said on that. Yeah, totally agree
Cheers.
on that.
So yeah, we were talking about profiles, agents. So let's move on. Presuming all of that is slotting into place, let's
Yeah.
think about professionalism and sort of set readiness. When
Yeah.
you've sent that self-tape, you've got that part, you're going on to set. Liyanne might turn up and see you there, but she might not be able to. It's unlikely that you will see your casting director at this point, but I'm sure as a casting director, you know what it looks like from getting all of that feedback from your
Yes.
clients, from the production. What does professionalism look like
Mhm.
on set,
Yeah.
maybe even before they've booked the job? What is professionalism in these actors?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a really good question to ask. The industry is big, but it's small, right? And people do talk, and you always want to leave a very good impression on anyone you work with or come across or audition. And it's simple things. It's having manners, it's being respectful, it's timekeeping, being on time, um, you know, dressed appropriately. It's making sure that you are being very respectful to whoever you are on set, and that goes for everybody on the production. This is not just an actor, right? But this is for everybody on a production should be. And I think it's just important. I mean, even for a parent as well, when you are chaperoning children, I feel that this is an important thing to mention. Your children are the ones doing the job, and it's really important that you are there absolutely as a role of a chaperone, but be mindful about doing too much, interaction and small talk and stuff like that, unless you are being spoken to. But I have, been on set and seen some things, and I'm like, your parents just, be a bit respectful. The
Yes.
production has got a massive job to do. And as much as people will be polite and respond and talk to you, you are there to chaperone your child, to make sure everything is, in order, and your child is safe and well looked after, and timekeeping and working within their regulated hours and stuff like that. So unless people say take a picture and with the director and all these things, then great. But just be a little bit mindful on things like that, and never be rude. I think rudeness, unkindness, I don't like to hear of those things, and it would make me not want to even consider somebody again. If I hear things like that. Not saying don't have your voice. If you feel that something's
Yeah.
not working, or they've gone over time, this shouldn't happen now, my child or I, this is going into overtime. It's like, and these are the things where having an agent, it backs you, it supports you in that. Whereas if you're just vulnerable out there, in a production can take advantage of you not knowing certain things, that can happen.
Parents could pop and get their chaperone license. They're really easy to get. And then you'll have training and know these. I mean, it is a Google away as well, all of the
Yes,
legislation there. But
absolutely.
I'm a licensed chaperone, and it's
Yeah.
interesting what you learn, and it's
Yes.
useful. And also, I've heard of children losing the job or not being invited back to jobs because of the parent. The
Yeah.
child was perfect, but they don't want to work with the parent again. So be careful. Don't cost them their dream.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also be really honest in the beginning if there's any, production will always be asking these things, but make sure that you're informing them of allergies or medical conditions, or dietary requirements and stuff. So then there's no when you turn up to set, there's no allergies that haven't been recorded, or any special makeup and hair requests, like these things, just make sure it's made clear rather than you going on set and then a bad attitude comes out because, somebody doesn't know or anything. But just act professional, good manner, polite, confident, be a pleasure to work with. Yeah.
It should be fun for everyone,
Yeah.
shouldn't it? And I think if everyone's coming with that professionalism and sense of fun, I think you've said it there about the balance. Speak up when
Yeah.
something is not right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But otherwise, let it flow, let it work,
Yeah. Yeah.
stay out the way.
Yeah.
I can, yeah, I've been on chaperone my child on quite a lot of student projects and smaller bits, and I've had a blast, and they've asked me things. I've had a really good time, but I do just try and
Yeah.
back off a little and not get too
Yeah.
involved because it's hard because I have my drama coach hat on as well as my
Yeah.
mum
Yeah.
hat
Of
and my
course.
career,
Of course.
and I do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hope we've all made really good relationships, and they have asked us back, so it couldn't have, I couldn't have
Yeah.
been that bad.
You've done a fantastic job.
But it is tricky. I can see how the
Yeah.
parents would
Yeah.
want to overstep the boundaries, but yeah,
Yeah.
be balanced,
I've
be
done it
safe.
myself. Like I've got children and they did do, they did do some like commercial work and stuff when they were younger. And I had a chaperone license and I'd be on set. And there were itching times when I was like, I had my son one time who's doing a commercial and he was like yawning. And I was like, oh my God, he's yawning. But he was only like about 8, I think. And they were doing so many retakes. And I did feel sorry for the kids because it was a hot day, but we were filming for a winter commercial because it always happens. We're always filming in the summer for maybe Christmas or winter.
Yeah.
And he had to wear the clothes and it was like big jacket, big, and he was it was getting hot, and I was just like, and I was just there. I was professional, I'd cast the job. I was also chaperoning, but I was like, oh my God, I need to just keep quiet. But he's my son. I can see he's yawning. He's getting fed up. I don't want. But you see, and that's natural as a parent because you want your child to just do the best job. But sometimes you just have to step back and just let all of us that are, are working
As long
on.
as they're safe. Yeah.
Just get on with it. They will look after your child. They will make sure that the child is kind of feeling upbeat. They were picked up.
They give them a fun time,
Yeah, they're like,
generally,
oh,
don't
child's a
they?
bit tired. Maybe we might have to do another retake in a bit. Let's say. So you can relax a little bit and enjoy watching your child on set.
So I've got kind of one last point I want to chat to you about, and I feel like we've covered it really along the way with our conversation. But from your perspective, what is changing in the industry at the moment? Can you maybe summarize that? Are there more opportunities? What skills are needed, and sort of what excites you for the future of casting?
I mean, our industry is always so tough, and I'm not going to pretend that it isn't and say, yes, guys, there's absolutely loads of opportunities out here. Because there really isn't. It's still a tough industry, and those that are working hard in the space or training their craft and stuff, I just say keep on going. There is opportunities. There's just not as many, and I think it's about just making some more smart choices now with how you market yourself. The industry is evolving and changing, even the way we are casting. So, as I mentioned already a little bit, how are you on social media? How are you on your profiles on Spotlight? What also are you doing outside of, just waiting for that job to show your creativity? Are you, putting any little show reels together and stuff like that? But I think what is positive that is changing, I think, having more of us that are working in the space, I feel like I'm bringing a lot of positivity in casting, especially. I feel like, having more people like me that are approachable, caring, kind, want to see people win and give the advice out and not gatekeep like this was meant to be like this hidden curtain, because it really isn't, will help as well. And I think just keep watching as the spaces evolve, because we now have a new form of media content that's evolving. So there's another opportunity to get involved. Commercials are not going anywhere. There is still lots of commercials happening. People will say to me, though, they see the same faces in commercials, but also, what needs to change in the industry is productions do stick with the same casting directors at times. So then you're never going to get like a new perspective. So I think we all have to take responsibility in that. In even production companies, work with different people, get new perspectives so that new faces can be seen. And yeah, I think just, stay confident out there. I think if it's something that you love doing, don't lose your passion. It is tough, but don't lose the passion. Go for opportunities, even if they're like smaller opportunities, they can lead to bigger ones.
Mhm.
And every opportunity that you get and it's a no, don't take it as a negative. It's just like, that just wasn't for me. I'm going to go on to the next one, So just stay that positive, calm, kind attitude and just keep growing in your talent and your craft, basically. Yeah.
Yes, may there be many more kind,
Yeah.
helpful people championing each other in
Yeah.
the
It's
industry. I
needed.
absolutely
It's
love
so
that. More and
needed.
more and more of that. Yes.
Absolutely.
Liyanne, is there anything that you hoped would have come up in our conversation that you feel we haven't covered before we go into some quick
No,
fire
I
ones?
just hope that for listeners today, they just get a little bit more of insight of casting, that us casting directors we're here to help, we're here to support, we are here to, we want you to get the jobs. If we didn't, we wouldn't get you in the rooms and we wouldn't ask you to tape. So if you get a tape request, be really proud of yourself, even if you don't get the recall or the job,
Yes.
because it means there's something that, we are seeing. If you're not getting the self-tapes, not getting the calls, just see maybe what there is that you can change. What is it you could be doing better? And just, I think just keep an eye on, the casting directors that are doing stuff, how you can kind of be in their eye line, because we can't remember everyone. So I will say, and as much as people email me and they send me headshots and stuff, and that's great. And I will keep like little databases and stuff. But also if you see something that I'm doing, reach out. Even if I don't get back to you straight away, like at some point, Lisa, I'm sure I will respond.
Yeah.
There's just reach out, and not every casting director is going to ever respond. Sometimes I tend to, but that's also like as I can. But just do what you can to market yourself as well. Like take some responsibility in who you want to be and what jobs you want to go for. It makes then our job a little bit easier as well.
That sounds very empowering as well. And I know lots that do have agents. I think earlier
Yeah.
you said find your own platforms, etc. if you haven't got an agent. But even if you have,
Yeah.
don't be sitting and
Yeah.
waiting for them to find you jobs.
Yeah.
I think just get out there,
There's
be
actors that I know,
proactive.
they'll go, I've sent this to my agent. Like, because even as much as agents, they're managing a lot of people. So if you can be proactive and go, like, do you know what? I've seen this casting call. I'd really love to tape. Are you happy to reach out to casting director tape? Like, do it. Do it. Be proactive as well. Yeah.
Right, just to shake it off at the end then, we'll just do a few quick fire questions. So whatever pops into your head.
I always get nervous about fire
Oh,
questions.
no, don't. I get a variation on
I
this. It's
overthink
always
that.
really fun. I can get one word or like a full story.
Oh, right. Okay.
So don't worry. No. And if it's come up already, great. You can just say it again. Or if it's something brand new, just share it. I
No
can always
worries.
take it out if you don't like it. Don't worry. Okay. Something that makes you stop and really watch a self-tape.
What really makes me stop? Do you know what? Great eye line and confidence in the camera. Like great eye line confidence.
Perfect. One thing actors worry about that matters less than they think.
You know what? They worry about, one thing I think people worry about is thinking what we're looking for. So overthinking, like, what do they want? And sometimes, trust me, productions you can make that change. So never go in thinking, what are they looking for? Just go in and do you. Yeah.
And one quality that makes an actor memorable for the right reasons.
I'm really big on energy. So I would say if you've got great energy, I will remember you for that. Like real great energy. Yeah.
And finally, final quick fire, the best piece of advice you would give to a young actor before their next audition.
Before your next audition, I want you to be really confident. I want you to make sure that you really understand what the audition is for. So if it's a character, and like I said earlier, I want you to put yourself into that scenario or that scene and imagine it in your head so you can give a more natural performance.
So many great tips in there, just in
Thanks,
those quick fires.
I always get nervous of those fire rounds.
Thank you. No, that was really great.
Thank
Would you like to tell the people listening or watching where they could follow you and or your work? Any places you'd like them to find you?
Yeah, so I am on socials, on Instagram. So I have Liyanne M, which is spelled Liyannem, just to make everybody, struggle with looking for me.
Don't worry, we'll
And I
pop it in
also
the show notes as well.
pop it in the show notes.
It'll
And
be
also
there.
at Liyanne Marie Casting as well. I also have a website, Liyanne Marie Casting. I'm on LinkedIn. TikTok, I'm not that great on, but I am on there. I've got to give myself my own advice and getting my marketing on that bit, but
It's
there's no time for that
hard.
right now.
There's a lot of platforms to be on. I sort of
I
take
know, too
turns.
many. It's another job in itself, Lisa. Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree. Definitely. So thank you for that. Yeah, we'll pop those in the show notes so that people can find you nice and easily. Thank you
Thank you.
so much,
Thank
Liyanne,
you,
for this
Lisa.
conversation today. Really, really valuable stuff. And as usual, I feel there's stuff that I can take away as well as the audience. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for everyone that's listening.
So welcome.
Thanks.
So I think this has been so useful today because casting can feel like this closed door, as Liyanne said, the behind the curtain from the outside. But actually, so much of what's been shared today comes back to preparation, clarity, professionalism, and trust, both in yourself and the process that's happening. So for young performers and parents that are listening, I really hope this has helped you understand the casting process a little more clearly and maybe taken some of the mystery and the pressure out of it too. Thank you so much for listening to the Drama Coach podcast. You can follow me at The Drama Coach on socials for more acting tips, audition support, and practical guidance for young performers and the people that support them. Thanks again for listening, and I hope to see you in the next one.